We're very pleased to share this year's edition of the C-Suite Barometer. The Barometer is our annual exercise to take the views of business leaders from all around the world and hear a little bit about what they see as the key challenges in the coming year, as well as the opportunities that they hope their companies can take advantage of, and some of the ways that they're beginning to approach that landscape to make sure that they drive their businesses to success during the year. This year, I suppose, has been unique in some ways in that we've seen, even since we took our data at the end of 2024, a very rapidly evolving business landscape. In this year's C-Suite Barometer, we see a number of really important factors emerging. Interestingly, a lot of optimism about growth during the year, and many businesses in many sectors are focusing on growing significantly during 2025. We have seen a lot, and it's a new entrant maybe in the top concerns for business leaders, a lot of commentary about increased competition, with many businesses anticipating that they will see more competition domestically and internationally as they seek to grow their businesses. And perhaps overshadowing a lot of that, we've seen, as in previous years, a lot of feedback from business leaders on economic uncertainty. And if there's a theme that seems to be rising as the main theme for 2025, we've seen in the first weeks and months of the year very, very significant changes to the business and trade landscape internationally, with different countries and different regions taking some very significant actions to develop their position in trade, which has consequences for businesses all around the world. If I was to choose one key change coming through in the survey this year which really stood out for me, it was probably around the area of regulation, where we have seen some commentary in previous years, but the demands of regulation on business, particularly in Europe and the US, is becoming more and more pronounced. So we're seeing that across a number of sectors, financial services, of course, but because of some of the general purpose regulations, if one wants to call it that, like CSRD, some of the data privacy requirements and cybersecurity regulations that we've seen become more prominent in major economies. And I think what's interesting to reflect on is how that's going to develop in the current year. So we've already seen, since we've done the survey, the impact of the omnibus legislation in Europe on the CSRD area and on how that reporting is going to develop. We're anticipating further changes in a number of economies around financial services regulation, and so that's becoming a really key trend and a key change point to watch, I think, for many businesses. The longer term investment trend we're seeing is businesses beginning to really see how they can develop their business model using bespoke tools. And obviously that's a much heavier lift in terms of quantum of investment and a multi-year process. And what we're seeing, I think, in 2025 is many businesses beginning the strategic consideration of how to use those tools and how to finance the development of those tools over time. The second theme that comes through strongly, and again, it's not a huge surprise given the backdrop of COVID and some of the challenges we've seen around international supply chains in the last 2 years, is businesses wanting to expand geographically. And I think some of that is a reaction to being able to manage more closely their international businesses. Now, it's interesting really to put that against developments in the first quarter of 2025, and I suspect when we look back in the middle of the year, what we'd start to see is that businesses that set out maybe with expansion plans have paused some of those and have looked to see what's the right tactical position and strategic position to take against the developments in global economic trade and some of the volatility that we mentioned earlier. If I were to take three focal points or takeaways from the survey this year, the first would clearly be volatility. I think there's some very strong messaging around that, be it economic or led by regulation. I think all businesses are now turning to see how they manage that volatility, not just for 2025, but perhaps for an extended period. Second theme that I think is really, really important is the one around talent. I think we all know that great businesses are built on great people, and if you haven't got the right talent in your business, irrespective of your business model and technology, you are going to struggle to succeed. And the last thing I wanted to mention was the sense of optimism, which is very clear in the survey. And even with some of the challenges and volatility of 2025, I don't see that dissipating, and I think it's well-earned optimism, because many business leaders have been through a challenging number of years now, if we go back the last 5-8 years. So I think that optimism gives businesses the right to be assertive in pursuing their strategy and developing as we go through the remainder of 2025. And the C-suite survey is an opportunity to look at the business landscape. And I do hope that you'll find it interesting and that it'll be a help for you as you look at what's next for your business.